Hey, friends. Welcome to the Self-Love Strong podcast. And today we have a very special guest. Today we have the incredibly talented guest joining us, actually, Scott Mebus. He's a true creative powerhouse, an award-winning content strategist, multimedia executive, and the head of production for creative brands such as big brands in media. He is also a co-host of the Hope I Don't F This Up podcast, where he dives into life's unpredictable moments with humor and insight. But Scott's talents don't stop there. He's also a novelist, composer, a playwright. You may know him as the author of Booty Nomad and The Big Happy. And from his widely acclaimed Gods of the Manhattan trilogy, which brought urban fantasy to life with young readers. His work spans from everything from television production at MTV to composing music for the Discovery Channel kids, and even writing and producing musicals like Tarnish and No Sympathy for a Wolf. But beyond his impressive career, Scott is also navigating the deeply personal transformative journey of single fatherhood. As a dad raising an adopted African-American child, he brings a unique, powerful perspective to parenting, identity, and resilience. Today, we're going to dive into his experiences. Super thank you for you being here, Scott.
Oh, thanks for having me. Excited to talk.
Yes, man. Scott, your accomplishments in your life has been truly a journey of resilience in itself and creativity, which I really love.
It's funny. Resilience is the word. As you're saying all of that, it made me think of how many times I've had to start over. It's amazing how many times in life that you have to go back to the beginning and build up again. And then you look back and you're like, oh, wow, look at this career. Look at all these things that I've done. But you forget sometimes when you're at the start of that new leg of the journey and you have to remind yourself, look at all the stuff I've done. Look what I've accomplished. I can do this next piece. I can do the next bit. And so, yeah, that's something that I was just thinking about that when you were introducing me.
Yeah, man. I was thinking about the same thing, kind of like what you said right there. It's crazy how you realize like how much you don't really realize what you've done and accomplished in your life until you really take a step back and look back like, whoa, man, I've done all this. But with your, crazy life as well, can you share your journey into fatherhood and how did that come to adopting your son?
Oh man, it was a long journey. So she's my ex-wife now, my wife at the time, and I had trouble. We could not conceive. We tried for about 3 or 4 years. And then after that, we're like, all right, we're going to adopt. And we tried to adopt internationally. And we were going to adopt Ethiopia because that was, we had friends that had adopted from Ethiopia. And we loved the kids and, not a very I won't say super researched reason. It was just like, oh, we love these kids. We love a kid just like Katie. And so for 3 years, we were waiting to adopt from there. And then they shut the program down because of fraud. It turned out that they were telling the parents in Ethiopia that they were just sending the kids for schooling and then they were adopting them out. Horrible. So thank God we did not actually, get to the front of the line. And so then we decided to turn our attention domestically and went to doing a domestic adoption. And what was interesting was that we had spent so much time trying to figure out what is it like and what do we need to do to be white parents of a Black child, because we were going through all that with Ethiopia. And so it was very easy for us to then be like, well, we're going to do that domestically. And so we put in for that. And 2 weeks later got a call that said, can you be in Utah next week? Because your son is being born. So we went from 3 years to overnight. It was insane. We were not prepared. And we flew to Utah and we were in the room as he was being born. We met the birth mother the night before, amazing woman. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. And I got to feed him for the first time. And got his first, I still remember his first poop is burned into my memory. It was so disgusting. It's like black goo. I don't know if anyone's ever been through that before, but the first poop of a newborn baby is it's like expelling Satan out his butt. But it was awful. But it was just amazing. And but the funniest thing is that we had convinced ourselves that we knew what it would be like to be one, parents, but two, parents in a transracial family. And until you live it, you don't know it. And it was there's so many things that I'm still learning and still failing at. And part of the point of my podcast is how often I fail. And then when my ex-wife and I split up, I ended up with primary care. So I have my son about 90% of the time. And so now I'm a single dad to an 11-year-old amazing boy who is a pain in the ass. How old is your kid? You say you're a father. How old are you?
Yeah, so I have actually 4. My oldest is 16. God. I know. Yeah, we have an army. I have an army myself. So my oldest is about 16. I have a son there's 10 and 11, and a daughter who is 12. So yeah, we got a full house of fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I have one kid exhausted. I can't imagine what it's like for you.
It's zone defense at this point. You're kind of like, after that first one, you're like, they didn't die.
You know how often I have heard zone defense for like with kids? It's like, did they create football just so you could raise multiple children? It's like, it's just zone defense. Actually, is that football or is that basketball? That's basketball.
Sorry, you're right. It's right. It's football. You're football.
It is football.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I'm a baseball guy. What do I know?
Yeah. But I really love that perspective of it, how your story kind of built from there. Like, I would never think of that. You see those commercials like save kids from a foreign country. That's a crazy thing in itself.
I know. I do have a problem with that perspective of saving anyone, because essentially we weren't saving anybody. We wanted a child. Yeah. And this was where we wanted to go. And when it didn't work out, we went somewhere else. And if we hadn't adopted him, someone else would have, and maybe his life would have been different, but still amazing. Or if his birth mother had been in different circumstances, that life maybe would have been amazing. So it's not like I don't feel like I'm walking around with this halo of like, I saved some poor kid, because I really feel he's an amazing kid. And I think he would have been an amazing kid no matter where or who he was with. We were just lucky enough to win the lottery with him. But I think sometimes, I don't know I'm not, no shade on you to say it, because I hear it a lot, but it's like, sometimes I think we like to inflict this savior role on ourselves when we're parents, or we're like, at least I'm not like as bad as them, or at least I'm better than, it's like this game of at least, or I'm better than my parents and things like that. And I'm like, we are all messing up. We all are screwing up. And the grace that you want people to have for you, you should have for the people around you. Let's just all have grace for each other.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. Yes, definitely all around. Because like you said right there, we're all pretty much learning at the same time. Nobody really has anything figured out. And I think that's the best perspective. Like you said, just give everybody grace, because we're all trying to figure things out, especially in a situation like that. Like you said, you hear the superhero book, like, I adopted a child, I'm the savior. But I love that your perspective, like, what, man, this is something, it's a gift to us. And I think many times when you realize you come from that standpoint, like, this is a gift, this is something like he could have been anywhere, but I have the opportunity. I think that's an awesome, man. I feel so happy for that kid, because I see that bond right there. Like, that's a gift in itself. Such a gift.
I mean, he and I are, it's funny, like he and I are like peas in a pod. And that's what I laugh all the time, because it's like the whole nature versus nurture. And you're like, well, we're obviously pretty far apart on the nature side. But he is like little me. So like, I don't know if that says a lot on nurture, or if that just says there's somebody out there putting the right people together. I don't know what that means, but he and I are just so similar. It's hilarious.
Oh man, I love that. So how is that, obviously, it's funny because, my wife, we have like a biracial family, a mixed racial family. Okay. So it's like when my child was born, they're like, is that your kid? I'm like, you kind of walk around like, you have I have a white baby. They're like, who is that man holding that baby? Is that your child? So how is that transition for you? Raising a child, an African-American child, just,
Well, I would say that you're, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. You probably went through this. It's like they're at their lightest when they're born. And then, and then as they go older, they get darker. And so now your wife probably walks around feeling the way that you used to feel. But exactly. It's funny because it's like, I'm actually, there's stuff that I've internalized, and I think the thing you always have to think about is, what is other people putting on you and what are you putting on yourself? There are things that the world puts on you, and I won't say it won't. I mean, like there's stuff there are people that don't approve of the fact that I have a transracial family, and nothing I can do about that. My own grandfather didn't approve of it. But you know, he was a racist and you know, he deserves what he got. Anyway, sorry. I had problems with my granddad, but most of my family, amazing. My granddad, you know, he was a guy, but then there's stuff where I just feel uncomfortable. Like I will sometimes feel uncomfortable when I'm around Black people because I will feel that they are judging me on how I'm raising this kid who may not be raised, you know, culturally Black enough, which is a legit worry. I mean, that is, but then I have friends who are, you know, I guess legit Black enough. And I realize that a lot of what we're talking about is economic, you know, and it's, you know, are we really just saying there's so many things that I am worried about. And so I go into this situation and everyone is lovely to me. And I am walking in already worried about being judged for this thing and setting a tone that doesn't need to be set. And they end up being lovely to me. And it's something that I did myself. So it's this journey I'm constantly on of trying to separate out what's the world putting on me and what am I putting on myself. And I can't do a lot about the world, but I can do a lot about me. What can I change about myself so that, one, I'm comfortable, and two, my son is comfortable, because he picks up on all these cues. And the last thing I want him to feel is uncomfortable. So I'm always thinking about it, too much probably, but that's been one of the main things. And the other thing that I love, and it's something I love, is we often say that as you get older, it's harder to change, right? When we say about our parents or our grandparents, we're like, they don't change, they're stuck in their ways. My mom is from rural Virginia. Her dad, as I just mentioned, is a piece of work. He literally, he would sit, you know, he hated it. He wasn't just Black people. He hated everybody. He would just sit in his house in the Blue Mountains that he made himself with his gun in his hand, just waiting for the Jews to try something. Like, you know, he was just always ready. He thought I looked too Jewy, as he put it. So he was just, you know, my mom grew up in all of this, and my dad grew up in the hills of Yonkers, New York, which is not that different. The way I like to say is they have different words for soda, but the same one for Black people. But it was like, you know, it was not conducive to understanding. Right. And then when I brought my son home, my parents like fell in love, and my mom went out and bought a dashiki. And I was like, I didn't want to tell her. I'm like, he's not from Ethiopia. He's from Utah. Like I don't know what the dashiki is supposed to do, but she's trying. And my dad bought like all of these books on white guilt, like every book on white guilt, and he read them all. And like they just embraced this new way of thinking in their 70s because they loved him so much, and they changed the way they think. And they were never like going around, you know, racist or anything, but everyone's prejudiced. Everyone has these assumptions that they go around, and it takes a lot of courage sometimes to face those prejudices and try to tear them down. It's energy, right? It's exhausting. Yeah. And as you get older, you have less energy. And so you're like, screw it. I'm just going to go with what I know because I'm tired. And my parents put the energy into challenging their assumptions and to changing what they believe. And to me, it makes me tear up to talk about it, because it was really just it didn't just give me hope for my parents. It just gave me hope in general for humanity. It's like, when you care enough, you can change. And all this bullshit of like, you know, we are who we are and that's life. And as we get older, we get stuck in our ways. No, if you care enough, you do the work, you can change. And so that to me was one of the most beautiful things to come out of my family.
Man, I love that. I love that what you said there. If you care enough, you can change. And I feel like many people, we get, like you said, you get stuck in those assumptions, and we feel like nothing's going to change. But I love how you said it. Just simply caring enough was what changes things. Because like you said, you walk in those situations where you have that self-guilt or that self, like, is it my thoughts that are making me feel this way when I enter into this room? And then I love you were talking about, I went to this room and people are nice to me. And you're like, they should not like me. And I felt the same way. I know exactly how it felt, like they're judging me. I'm with, not this, you feel like you put that stress on yourself, and then they're like, hey, how's it going? You're like, me?
Well, when you're in a transracial family, just like me.
Yes,
and that,
exactly.
So you're constantly straddled, and you're always feeling you're going to be feeling comfortable somewhere, because you have twice as many cultures that you have to absorb and be a part of, and one of them is unfamiliar to you, and you have to get familiar with it. and that's exhausting, and it's scary, and all that. But what's great is, it sounds like your wife is, you're in this place of love, so you can start from this place of love and move out. And that's where I am too. And that helps, that helps navigate it, but it doesn't make it go away. Like, you still feel it. I feel this all the time when we talk about, like, how do we connect? How do we connect with people that are different than us? How do we feel like they are on the same wavelength from us? And how do we manage that? And a lot of the times it's in widening who you're around in general, widening your experiences so that they're not weird to you. They're not different. And you can I went too far. I went down this, like, what sounded like a very smart place, and then I couldn't figure out how to end it. So I'm like, it sounded great until the end. Well, I do this with hiring sometimes, because, right now DEI is under assault, and it's like, I'm a firm believer in what DEI is meant to be, which is to widen the people that you bring in, because you hire I believe you hire who you know and are comfortable with. And the problem isn't that there aren't good candidates. The problem is you need to be comfortable with more people. Like, you need to figure out how to be comfortable with people that have something to offer but aren't like you. But that takes work. And so I remember, like, when I tried to widen that and hire more diversely, the hardest part was just finding that common ground between you and a hire, so that you could see them for what they really have to offer and not for the assumption that you have. And that just took work. And it's the same work with family. It's the same work in general. It's just like, nothing worth having is easy. Like, it all takes something, but it's worth it. Once you do the work, it's worth it. Man, I went really far afield, man. I'm sorry. I don't know what do we want to solve next? Do we want to solve? Bring me another topic. Let's take it. We're going to take care of all of it.
Good, man. It's good. But I really love something you're saying there, because it really takes work. And I think many times we find ourselves in situations, and you said, like, we've been stuck in this box for so long, so that we weren't even open to looking anything outside of it, even though it may even be better for us. So I love the fact you're talking about sometimes you need to branch out and, like you say, get out and smell the flowers to really appreciate the beauty that is around you. But it's like you said, if you're stuck in that box, it's really hard to find anything better or even recognize it.
And don't be afraid of the challenge. And I think sometimes we're exhausted all the time. I mean, you're a parent, God, don't 4 kids. You're exhausted. I'm exhausted all the time. And you start to shy away from challenges because you only have so much bandwidth. But sometimes you just have to push yourself, because it's worth it, even though it's tiring. And whether it's widening your perspective or whether it's starting a podcast, both of us have done, it takes work. It's exhausting, but it ends up being worth it. You just got to push yourself.
Man, I love that. Embracing the hard times. I think it's so easy now to try to run from the hard times, right? It's like, can I get away from the hard? But I love how you talked about just embracing it and how the growth comes from that. Like, it's uncomfortable in the beginning, but eventually what was so hard for you became a little easier. Would you say, as you were writing your books or composing, like making your podcast? And is that how it is? Like, you're just embracing the hard through all those challenges of just leveling up in those ways?
It's how do I put it? I had a rough weekend. So this past weekend, I had anyone that's ever put art out there, whatever the art is, whether it's a podcast or a book or whatever it is, I think anything where you're trying to communicate with people is art. And so this is art. What we're doing right now is art. And I put it out there, and I had this moment on Sunday where I woke up and every negative thought I'd ever felt seemed to hit me all at once. Maybe it's because a dream I had. I don't know why, but I'm lying in bed and every failure I'd ever felt, everything that had ever gone wrong, hit me all at once. And I'm just sitting here like, how do I get up? Like, how do I try to do something that maybe doesn't seem like it's working right now? And, is this all futile? Is it worth it? Like, and I'm just sitting there. And then the reason I got out of bed is my son came into the room and he wanted to play a video game with me. And it knocked me out completely. And I went down and I played the video game. And as we're playing the video game, he's like, hey, can you watch me in Gorilla Tag? He puts his VR helmet on because, I'm an enabler. Yeah. And he starts playing it. And then I say, it's time for lunch. And he's ignoring me. And suddenly I have an idea. And it's like, wouldn't it be a funny little like TikTok to be like, the only way I can get my son to go to come to dinner would be to go into Gorilla Tag and tell him to come to dinner. Like that would be the only way. And suddenly getting out of that whole thing and sitting down sparked art, like silly little art, not big art, but it sparked something. And I got excited. And so I think the thing that kind of enforces in me is when you get overwhelmed by all of this work and the inevitable failure that I've had so much failure is to find the spark that you're excited about and lean into that. And it can be a tiny little thing. It could be that little TikTok that has nothing to do with anything. And maybe 8 people will see it, but it was so much fun to record because I did this little split screen thing and he had his face and it was just like, it just turned into, reminding yourself why you enjoy things, it's just finding the joy. And so that knocked me out and suddenly I started finding joy in other things and it put me right back on the path. So it's like, I have to remind myself. I mean, this just happened to me a couple of days ago. So it's not like I'm like master of how to do that. It's still constantly happening. But the risk you take when you accept a challenge is that the challenge will fail. But it doesn't mean that you don't accept the challenge because there's joy in there somewhere. And hopefully it's along the way, or maybe it leads you to something else. But if you never accept a challenge, you'll never find that joy. Like you'll never get to that joy if you don't accept the possibility of failure. And so I have to remind myself of that. I forget it constantly, but when I can knock myself out, it leads to one of the happiest moments I can think of with my son. How much fun was it making a video with my kid? Like we're both loving it and having a great time until the end when he got bored and then ran off to his room to to ignore me for the next hour. But still, I had a lovely 45 minutes.
Man, I love that. Yeah, because Gorilla Tag, it's a hard one to get them off of.
I know. Oh, it's awful. Do your kids play Gorilla Tag?
Yes, they play Gorilla Tag. Yes, it's a hard one. They're like talking to their friends.
I know all I hear is talking out into the ether because, they got the helmet on. For those of you who don't know, you get the helmet on and they can hear people as they get close to you. So your kid is just talking to himself and you hear this little tiny voice in the distance, like coming out of the little screen, like, and what my son keeps doing is he keeps singing. For some reason, he moves his arms like a crazy person and sings his favorite 2 lines on whatever TikTok he's been watching that only has 2 lines of a song. So he just repeats it over and over and over again. And I'm like, is this insanity? Like, what is this? So Gorilla Tag is the most insane thing I've ever seen.
It is. The creators are genius. So like you said, it's like you're just talking into the ether in your room. You're like, who are you talking to? Like, when they get close, you may, like you said, you're like, it's the funniest one to watch because their arms are just going everywhere, trying to go fast, and you just have their head moving around. But I love something you said there because I think many times we all find ourselves in that place where we're overwhelmed, we're exhausted, we're feeling like you said, like you said, when you put your art out there, something you put some time in, you always anticipate criticism, right? And that's like the worst thing. We're always like our worst enemy when it comes to that because you're like, everything's going to go horrible. Nobody's going to react. or it's not going to give me that result that I was looking for. And it's easy to just stay down. But I love the fact that you talked about, hey man, it's going to be hard. And I just had to pick myself up, because sometimes like you're going to find yourself alone, curled in that ball, not wanting to do anything. Yeah. But you had that voice that pulled you out, and you're like, hey man, I'm going to get up. I think it's that time when you said, like, I had to get up and realize that there's joy around me, even though it's unsure, like I could fail, but just finding that joy through the process, but realizing that, like you said, it's not going to be there initially, but it could be there in the end if I'm looking for it. I think that's such a powerful statement in itself, because I know many times I find myself down thinking like, this ain't going to go right, and I get stuck there. But I love how you said that, hey, when you pull yourself up and you just keep going through and find the joy through the process, man, that's so powerful. I'm glad you shared that.
Well, it sounds great. Doing it isn't as easy as it sounds. Well, here's something I do, and it's like, you have to remind yourself, I think I need to remind myself. I don't want to be too broad because everybody's different, but I need to remind myself of how I felt when I did something and separate it out from how everyone's reacting to it. They're two different things. Like, making something brings me the most happiness. I love making music. I love making music. I have a little studio in my house, and it's like, I just layer my beats out, and nobody has heard my music more than I've heard it. Like I love listening to it because it reminds me of how it felt to make it. And so it's like that idea of you're making something for you, and do you enjoy it? And what gets you is when you start getting feedback to stuff, and it starts to change how you feel about the thing you used to love, right? I'm sure you get it all the time. You get you read comments on people. I put this one thing out where I had people calling me an idiot and saying like, what I think one person's like, that's why you have, because I have like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm not blowing up the world. But this one was like, that's why you only have 1,000 subscribers. Dang. And so I clicked on her, and she has 1 subscriber. So I'm like, come on, lady, come on. Let's put it all in perspective. But ultimately it's like, you can't let them separate you out from why you enjoy doing it. But it's so hard because the dopamine rush of the analytics are pure dopamine. It's like, I put out a TikTok, and if it does 10,000 views, I feel like a living God, It's like, and yet the thing I love and spent all the time on gets 8 views, and I feel like it's a failure. But I'm like, yeah, but the thing that got 10,000 views, I put no time into, and I just spit out there. I loved putting this other thing together that did nothing. Does that negate that I had a great time doing it? Like, no, it doesn't. I have to remind myself that. It's very easy to say that and hard to feel it. But it's still true, it's still true that I loved making this because I couldn't wait to see it. I couldn't wait to have made it. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that translates to everything in everyone's lives. Like it's as a creative person, that's the way I feel. But I don't know how it translates, but I still feel like that whole cliche of the journey it's a cliche for a reason. I mean, it's meaningful for a reason. It's just the journey's different depending on, what you're really excited about and brings you joy, but it's still, you can't get caught up in that. Because once you're done, you're done. I mean, that's no fun. Once the race is over, how fun is that? You don't get to run anymore. Like, I liked running.
Yes, man. I 100% agree. I love some of the videos when I was looking at your site. I love one of my favorite ones is, you made a song. You're like, me and my son are doing like you're playing the keyboard and he's singing. You guys are both singing. I'm like, that just looks so much fun. And I can tell like when I love content like that, because I know it was like, you were like, he's probably in there jumping around. You're like, we're going to make a video. And like, it's those moments, like you said, it's like really making content for yourself. It's like those ones I'm like, man, I love those because I know what you did. You just turned it on, turned the camera on, and you guys are just having fun. And it's like,
well, I wrote the song about him. So I was like, hop in the back. Cause it was about, the name of the song was You're Lucky That You're Cute. Cause it was about how we were stuck in during the pandemic times and he was driving me nuts. He was like 4 or 5 years old. And I'm like, if you weren't cute, you would be thrown out the window right now. And so I like wrote a little song about it. And he's like, can I dance? And I was like, sure, come on in. And he came in, and my favorite is just, he's making up these little dances and he's telling these little jokes, and it's just so much fun to do. It was just so much fun to do. And you're always trying to create these moments that you'll always remember with your kids. And it's like, that's one way to do it. Like, what are these little memories, and just working on something together, even putting a Lego together with him. I will remember forever I used to take him on the weekends when I was still married, and his mom would have to work on the weekends, and he and I would get a Lego set and go to a Mexican restaurant and just put Legos together for like an hour. And I will always remember that. It's just these little moments that we just had together. And it's like, you just always in search of these moments. I think the way I was thinking about it, it's like you're just collecting these little pearls that you can, these little snow globes, I guess you call it, that you can then pick up and shake when you're not feeling so good, right? Like, if you are having a rough day, can you reach into your past, pick out a snow globe, shake it, and remember that day that your son was dancing behind you while you were playing a song? Like, that's you should be trying to make as many of those as you possibly can.
Man, I love that. That just goes with anything. Like, I was thinking, like, yeah, like you said, like, we're all learning in life, but it's just appreciating the moments like that. And as many times as you can build that, like, that's what makes life amazing, right? Yeah. Building those moments. And not taking them for granted. I think that's it's just powerful in itself, man. Like, wow. Like, you really think about those times as a kid. Like, you can always think about those, times you got the extra extra scoop of ice cream. Those moments of it's the simple things that I feel like you always remember and that bring you that joy. And I love how you stack those, but be in attention with them, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, the way your memory often works is you'll forget things. The way to remember things is to repeat them, because you'll at least remember the memory. I mean, that's also a great way to change your memory if you want. Like, but like, the more you repeat the happy moments in your life, the more you're going to remember them. And if you don't repeat them to yourself and revisit them, you're going to forget them, and they're going to fade away, and you're going to not have these important reminders of moments of joy in your life. So it's like, repeat them to yourself as much as you can. Repeat them to yourself, because they'll get cemented and they'll be that much easier to recall, and the feeling will be that much easier to recall. And I fall into a trap of repeating negative things to myself. It's almost like, I get caught in this spiral. And when it first started happening, I was like, how am I going to get out of this? So I talked to my therapist. In therapy. Yeah. And my therapist was like, you spiral down, but you can also spiral up. So how do you turn that downward spiral into an upward spiral? Use the same tools, but use it to make yourself feel better rather than worse. Repeat all the good things, repeat the joy, repeat. And so I try to live that now, where it's like, try to repeat all the things that make you special, all the things that make you feel good, all the things that you've done or want to do, all the ways that the people around you like you and connect with you, all the ways you connect with them. Like, repeat it, and the more you repeat it, the more you'll believe it.
Man, that is so awesome, man. So
I have a good therapist. Very,
very, very good therapist. I love the fact that not only did you ask for help in that situation, that takes courage and bravery in itself, because sometimes we're like, I can figure this out, but I'm glad you asked for help. I think that's so powerful. But the fact that we all find ourselves. I mean, it is so easy to grab onto the negative things around us so simply. Like, we tend to hold on to the negative things, but I love how you're talking about building that I like to call it highlight reel for yourself in a way. Like, hey man, I've done this, that, and this. And like, I love how, when I was talking about like some of the things you accomplished, like, you know what? It's funny how easy it is to forget the things that you've already accomplished in your life, or those joyful moments. And we always tend to replace them with the bad things. But I love how you talked about how you can reverse engineer. Maybe people find themselves listening to this, I'm in a negative spiral, I feel like everything's going badly. But I love how you talked about, hey, you know what? You can build your way up by just building those happy moments, stacking those happy moments and bringing those to mind. I think that's such a powerful thing in itself. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And it's something you have to choose to do it. Once again, the thing you walk away from this podcast episode is nothing's easy. You choose to do it.
Yes.
It's so much easier to be negative than positive. But when you choose to do it and you do the work on it, it saves you. It saves you. Like, especially, I don't know. I feel like we often feel we get so much negative reinforcement. I mean, social can be so negative. The stuff that people click on is so negative. And, we're always talking about, well, how do you combat that? Do you shut off the phone? Do you this and that? And I'm like, you can't shut off the phone. Like, that's like, you can't shut yourself off from the world. Instead, it's like, well, how do I create my own little positive world to fight back? And some of it is in what you repeat to yourself, and some of it is, and this is what I'm bad at, but trying to get better at, is, involving other people in your world as much as you can. It's just so easy to isolate yourself, especially as a single parent. As a single parent, it's very easy to isolate yourself. And thankfully, I have a girlfriend who really helps me break out now, but it's still like, it's so easy to, and guys, I know we have a hard time, we isolate ourselves. We don't like to reach out. We're afraid that makes us betas. Like, alphas don't ask for help. Like, yeah, you know what? Alphas die at 50 of heart disease. That's what happens to alphas. So it's like, I'm constantly trying to involve other people back in my life. But I'm not great at it, and I'm still working on it. And it's like the gulf between what I know I should do and what I actually do is often pretty wide. And so I try to keep it manageable and realize I can't do everything, but what are the little things I can do to get there? And it's so funny. Like, I've turned into a self-help guru. This is not actually what my podcast is about at all. Like, my podcast is me and a single mom, and we kind of like admit our faults, and then, try to like give grace to each other. We like start each podcast episode off with a parenting fail of the week that we then forgive each other for. And then from there, we just then, talk about the subject of the week. But it's funny because she's constantly telling me that I'm trying to fix everybody, and she's just trying to share. And I'm like, well, because I'm a guy, and guess what guys do? We fix shit. I'm sorry. That's what guys do. Your car's broke, we fix it. Your life's broke, we fix it. That's just what we do.
Yes, man. But I really love how you're talking about, hey, like, the fact that not only are you going through it, but you're growing through it at the same time. Like, it's a choice. And I think, like you said, it comes at the end of the day, regardless of, because as a guy, I 100% agree with you. Like, I tend to isolate. I'm like, let me see how long I can go without asking for help. But then it tends to isolate you, and it puts you further back. But I love the fact that you're like, hey, man, I understand, because I understand the same. I need to work on that, and involving people through the process, which makes it a lot easier for everybody. Sometimes you feel like, I don't want to ask help because I don't want to put any burden on them. But I realize the real growth happens with collaboration.
But then, and also remember, but everything I say is something I say to myself and then fail at, and then try to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the one thing, I made a promise a long time ago. I don't know how well I keep to it, but it's like, you know what? I may not always be 100% truthful to the world. Sometimes we put facades out there, this and that. I at least am not going to lie to myself. Like, just don't lie to myself. That's the worst person you can lie to. And then I catch myself every once in a while. I break every rule. But the point of it is like I put myself out there of like, here's how you solve all your problems. But the next minute I'm breaking that and screwing up. So it's like, we're constantly screwing up and constantly messing up. And giving yourself the forgiveness for that is the most important thing you can do. I'm going to mess up tomorrow. I messed up today, but I put out the latest episode of my podcast. It's about dating, and I talk about my girlfriend and a few things, in our relationship. And she texted me, what? And she was so mad. Like, one line I said one line where I said, I don't see my friends as much because I have a girlfriend. And she wrote, you putting that on me? You said, I'm like, no, I'm just saying, guys, when they get in relationships,
it's true.
Go after their other friends. I'm not. And she's like, well, it makes it sound like I'm this horrible woman who keeps you from your friends. I'm like, I can't win, man. I put out another episode where I said something about, I called my mom a mob boss. She didn't like it. She sent me a note saying, you got to take that out. I'm not a mob boss. I'm like, I know it was a joke. It's like every episode I put out, I piss somebody else off and I just can't win. So, just give yourself grace. You're going to piss somebody off. Just happened this morning, literally just this morning, sending me that note. Oh man, it never ends. Never. I sent her flowers. That was the way I apologized. I'm like, sorry for the one line that was not meant at all to say that you took the way you said it. It's one of those passive aggressive, I'm sorry that you feel bad about the thing I said. The worst kind of apology.
Oh man, I love that. But I think like you said, like that's what makes life beautiful. Like, we're all making mistakes along the way, but giving yourself grace and others the same space as well. Like, and giving them grace. Because like you said, we're all figuring things out. We don't all have the right answers. And we all don't know how people are going to think about what we say. Like you said, like, we don't know how they're going to interpret things. But I think it's when you come from that authentic space like you're at and we give each other grace, like what we give, like if we give grace, if we give more love, I feel like it's easier for people to give it back to us, right?
100%. Like cliches are cliches for a reason. It's because they're true. And like you put it out there and it will come back. And if people treat you the way they want to be treated. And so, part of what, being attentive to the world around you is see how other people treat you and realize that's how they want to be treated. Treat people the way you want to be treated and realize that those are different things. And, it's a hard lesson, but the hard part is that most people don't think that way. So I treat other people the way I'd like to be treated and they don't pick up on that at all. And they treat me the way they like to be treated. And now we're both unhappy. So it's like, I guess the other part is tell people how you like to be treated. Just, tell them. Why not open your mouth and say, hey, it's funny. My first, not my first book, but the God's Manhattan series, when I'd had 2 books already. And then I sold that series to Penguin and I got a new my editor. She's like, is there anything you should know before we start editing the book? And I said, well, just so you know, I respond as well to praise as criticism. So as you're writing your edits, if you could put a ha-ha sound, sign next to a joke you thought was funny, or highlight a sentence you think was good, I respond well to that. And she did that and it made everything so much better, because that made me feel better about the whole process. It's like, sometimes you just got to tell people and not expect them to guess how you like to be treated, because we all like to be treated differently. We all want different things. And what are we going to go around guessing? We're going to guess what we want. That's how we're going to guess. And we're going to be wrong a lot. So I was and I got my friends made fun of me for that, for like doing that. They're like, you're so needy. I'm like, I'm not needy. If I were a stand-up in a club, I'd tell a joke and I'd hear a laugh or not, and I'd know if the joke worked. If you write a joke, how am I going to know if it's going to work unless somebody writes next to it, this is funny? How am I going to know if a line is a good line unless somebody says, oh, I really love how that sounds? Like, you learn through positive, not just criticism.
Yeah.
So I was happy I did it, but I still don't know what my editor felt about it. Maybe she thought I was a diva, but I was happy.
Yeah, that works. I think that's such a powerful statement in itself, because many times we find ourselves in a relationship or at a job and having that false narrative, like they should know. You hear that many times, like they should already know what to do. But I love the fact that that simple thing, like you said, like it's that communication, like of what we want, instead of playing the guessing game. I feel like many times in relationships we run into that, right? They're like, they should have known. You're like, I have no idea. But granted, the truth, like you said there, Scott, I never fully asked, Yeah.
I mean, we don't say anything. But I mean, I will find if you listen, even if they're not great communicators, if you listen to how people and pay attention to how people treat you, you will get clues in how they like to be treated. Like if they are, if they leave you alone when you're upset, that means they want you to leave them alone when they're upset. Even if you want to be comforted when you're upset, by them leaving you alone, it doesn't mean they're a bad person. It means that when they're in that situation, they like to be left alone. So they're just communicating. They're communicating what they want through how they treat you. And sometimes you just need to then be like, well, you're missing what I need. But that doesn't stop the fact that you have some clues here that you can pick up on if you pay attention on how to relate to the people around you.
Oh, man.
I just exploded his head. You don't see it. He's just glasses now. Just floating glasses.
Just floating glasses.
Head is exploded.
Oh, man. That was so awesome. It's so deep because I'm like, man, that makes so... You know what? It's the simple things that you're like, it's so simple, but it's like not common sense. Like it's common sense, but it's not common practice. Like that just makes so many sense. Like when you said that, I saw so many situations in my head. Like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Well, it's fine. Like I try to teach my son that, and it's a very hard thing because you don't want to teach your kid to ignore their own needs. Like you don't want them to live in entirely reaction to other people. So it's about a balance. You know, you can't go out there just reacting. You need a balance. And so I try not to go overboard with it, but he's a really sensitive, attentive kid, and he notices. And that I think is such a tool to have, because most of the strife in your life is I think a miscommunication between what one person sees the same conversation and you see that conversation. The difference in how you see it is the cause of like 80% of all anxiety. You know what I mean? If you can just figure out how to see that conversation the same way, then you're going to feel so much better. And so like teaching him how to like look at a conversation through someone else's eyes and realize that can just calm so much anxiety because you can read someone's mind. I'm essentially, as I told him, I'm teaching you telepathy right now. Let's learn how to read other people's minds, and you do it through how they treat you, and you're going to learn to read their minds. And it's a superpower that a lot of people don't have because we all live in our own heads. If you can do that, you're going to go real far. And he said, "Can I play gorilla tag, Dad?" So so that's about as far as my teaching my son gets. It goes 2 seconds, he nods, and then he wants to go play gorilla tag again.
Yeah, same. That's the same. I love that. But it's so true. It's so true, man. I love that. Man.
Well, I'm kind of sorry. I don't mean to like brave, but I'm up against my time thing.
Yeah, you're good, man.
Mind.
Yeah, you're good. I just want people to say thank you so much for all the knowledge you shared. I just want to give people an opportunity to connect with you. Where can people connect with you at?
Well, check out my podcast. Now it has a curse in it. So you've been saying, hope I don't F this. It's a nice way of saying it. When you search for it, be a rebel and use the actual
It's the full word. Yes.
That's supposed to be part of the point is that word and how that feels. So hope I don't F this up, but with the real word, because I'm being respectful of the father of four. You can find me on YouTube. Hope I don't F this up is the YouTube handle. I mean, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find me on Instagram. You can also look for, I've just so many ways to find me. Hope I don't F this up is the Instagram for the podcast, but then Scott Mebus, you can just find me there, on Instagram and TikTok. And then I have a Substack that I just launched, and I would love it if people would check that out. I hope I don't F this up, Substack. And it's where I really get to write these kind of longer pieces about some of the things that we've been talking about. And so I've really been enjoying that. So I would love if people go check that out, subscribe, comment on that stuff. Cause I love Substack. If you haven't really dived into it, it's like the new place where intelligent people talk. So it's nice. So yeah, all of those places you can find.
All right, here. Perfect. All right, friends. So hey, don't worry. I won't F this up. I'm going to put all of his links under this so we can make sure we get everything you guys need. Go visit his Substack, visit his podcast. Man, thank you so much for just your time, your wisdom. Man, you guys, this is an amazing opportunity. So make sure you guys connect with Scott and don't let this be the last time you hear from him. All right, friends. Thank y'all so much. Great episode. Take care.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. This was great.